Sure.
So talking about the legislators, none of them stood up for him.
Nope.
None of them backed him up.
Well, let me fix you.
Okay.
Not legislators, legislatures.
The whole entire,
Yes.
both bodies of
Exactly.
each house.
It
right.
seems like, and I've done a lot of work around the country, and it seems like in every legislature, there's been one or two legislators
Right.
willing to stand. But let me just take the first one, Pennsylvania, Doug Mastriano. Right. He stood up, asked for an audit of the state of Pennsylvania. That's what got me involved in this. Well, what did he get in thanks for him asking for it? They took away his staff. They took away his office. They took him off of every single committee in the I mean, this is a Republican war hero, state senator in a Republican majority legislature, and that's what the Republican majority legislature did to him.
He got canceled. He literally got canceled from the legislature.
From the right.
From the right. It happened to me. I can believe this. I totally can believe this. And this is sad that this is happening in our country right now, because which way does Pennsylvania lean? They lean more left, right?
No, they have a majority.
Right.
Right. I can show you. In fact, I've prepared a whole new set of graphs where I've looked at the voting record for every legislature in the country, and I can show you like a snapshot. We don't have one good legislature, not even one. And people are like, well, but Wyoming is good. You know, Wyoming's got 8 out of 9 people registered Republican, and they voted 3-1 for Trump. They're the most MAGA state in the country.
Right.
You should look at their legislature.
Right.
Their legislature votes more to the left than a lot of the other states that are blue.
People don't realize that. And this is why I pull up the records of our representatives and our senators. And people, instead of getting mad at the legislator for voting left, they get mad at me for pointing it out. And that sounds like that's the exact experience that you're having.
Exactly. So that's why when I tell you, I'm not counting on a red vote for it, because I've been there and done that. And I mean, I have sat in the offices with AGs and Secretary of States all around the country who are Republicans.
Right.
And hacked into their elections in front of their faces. And you would think if you show that they would say, oh, no, we have to address the problem. Wrong. They like it this way. I was with, in Louisiana, Kyle Ardoin. He's president of the National Secretaries of States Association last year.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, no, Dr. Frank, our elections are safe. And I'm like, why do you say that? He says, we're the state of the art. We have the gold standard of network security. He says, I even have this really cool app on my phone. He says, I can track the election in real time on it. He likes it this way.
Right.
But anybody who thinks that their phone is secure,
right,
which he's simultaneously admitting that all of his machines are which they are.
Right.
Anyway, we confronted him. He resigned in April of 2023 because we exposed the fact that he knew that his machines were hackable, and he committed to decertify him, and he didn't do it. He actually resigned.
This is what people are finding frustrating, and since 2020, this is what I have found, is that we have the same problem with a lot of our representatives, our Republican representatives and senators.
Yeah.
Same exact problem. And people see how the party behaves and reacts, so they're afraid. They're afraid to challenge any of these people, and therefore they kind of go into this melees, and then the apathy starts again. And that, to me, seems intentional. And they don't want us active. They don't want us paying attention. They don't want us pointing out the guy behind
because that keeps them in power and us asleep.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
It does.
This is the graph I was telling you about, where, let me just make it bigger to make it easier for you to see. This is for the state of Oregon from the 2023 legislative session, and I'm showing you both the House and the Senate. These are people who vote 0% consistent with the Constitution and people who vote 100% consistent with the Constitution. This is from the freedomindex.org. They've cataloged all the votes. And the blue dots are Democrats and the red dots are Republicans.
Okay, I can almost pick. That's probably either Mannix or Dick Anderson in the low part. Yeah. And over here, that's either an Art Robinson, Dennis Linthicum, or Thatcher.
And we can look them up, and you're probably going to be right.
Right.
But notice, I mean, really, when you think about it, a true conservative should vote all the time consistent with 100%. And so these are your Republicans. So you want to know why you're in a mess.
Yes.
That's why you're in a mess. I mean, I kind of put a shaded line at 50%, but that's sort of arbitrary. I was with
totally.
Yeah.
Right.
It should be 100%.
It should be 100%.
Yes,
it
it
doesn't
should.
matter if you're half the time screwing me over and not doing your job, you're fired. Isn't that the
Yeah.
way you work? I don't know.
Yeah, you give these guys a C.
Yes.
And these are D's and F's.
These are D's and F's. And
Yeah.
like you said, I could probably sit there and name out all of them. And it's sad that we have a Republicans who, and this is what's infuriating, like Wyoming, like Montana, where if they don't have to do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The
The
Republicans
people are such a huge majority.
Right.
They could have really good.
Right.
people.
And it's the same in districts where we have Republicans who are probably 50% or lower. And you're like, we don't have to have this. We don't have to have these people
Yes.
because this is what the Republicans will tell you. Well, I got to work across the aisle.
I can't get anything passed unless I
can't get any
compromise.
passed unless
Yeah.
I compromise.
Yeah, right.
And you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what is infuriating people because, well, not in our district.
Yeah.
You can vote as Republican as you want. We don't want the money.
Yeah.
You can keep the bribes, let them keep it.
Yes.
And no, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's infuriating. It's infuriating. And I'll tell you what, to be honest with you, 80%, and that's loose, 80% of the people don't even know. Don't even know.
You're right on target there. And,
Yeah.
and it's because I like what Plato said. Plato said the penalty for refusing to be involved in politics is you end up being governed by your inferiors.
Yeah.
And here we are as a culture not involved in politics. And now we have all these inferior. I mean, I could just walk up anybody on the street, shake them hand, meet them the first time. I bet you they have more ethics and integrity than your governor. You know, why don't we put, I would rather have them than these people have been compromised. That's been a big education for me. I'm a physicist. I spent all these years in the lab.
Right.
I voted every year. I did my civic duty. No, we're the government. We're supposed to be acting like it.
Right.
And I just, I had to learn that lesson. And we've become so disengaged. We're letting other people running the government. We're letting other people teach our children. We're letting other people run our elections. It's supposed to be us. And that's the situation we're in.
Yeah. It's a participation sport and people aren't participating
Right.
and it's sad.
So we're going to lose that. America's an experiment in self-government. We're failing.
And we're failing.
Yeah.
We're failing desperately.
Yeah.
And with the academia and the K through 12 education that's coming through,
Yeah.
I really don't see it getting any better. In fact, I see it getting worse. But here's why I trust a man like you, not because of what you say, but because of your actions. And this is why we also have so many bad representatives in the legislature. We have so many bad legislators because psychopaths and sociopaths crave power. The greatest way to get power in this country anymore is to work your way up through the school board, the city, the county, the state, and hopefully you'll be governor someday and you get to be the bigwig on the block. And that's what I see a lot of sociopaths making their way up the line.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like you, you're not looking for power. I have never seen you searching for the authority over other people, power over other people. And that makes me think, well, this person is really in earnest in what they're saying and they're doing because they're not searching for that power. And that's what we have in the legislature today. And we've got a county commissioner candidate who, when he was in his early 20s, just talking to him and talking about his goals, I knew this was one of those sociopaths who are in just waiting for that career in politics. And you're watching him. And I watched him as a young man go from one committee to another committee till he's sitting on the city council. He's now running for commissioner. And in 4 years, I'd be willing to bet state rep. Then the Senate. And then, and he's young and he can do it. And that's if you were, and I looked at business careers the same way. This is before I'm an activist. I never wanted to be in office. I never want to serve, never will, because I'm not interested in representing anybody other than myself, because I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of a selfish bastard. I like my Second Amendment rights, and lucky for you, they're your rights too. So that's the way I look at things, And so I hope there's a lot more selfish bastards out there who would fight for those individual rights other than fighting to have power over their fellow citizen. And that's why I'm for a highly limited government, right up there with that Constitution group.
Me too. You went the government out of our lives.
Right.
And with very limited power. any amount of government is too much government, really. So you're trying to keep the government to a minimum, but it's just been ballooning.